I think she's, yeah, you know, these kids are pretty cool. Yeah. I will, yes, yes.
How are you doing? Good.
Hi, Ernest. It's scary because the numbers are actually last night. It's scary. So yeah, I mean, on Sunday, we're busy going, and yeah. So she's like, we're walking the dog, we're cooking hamburgers. She wanted to work out. We're like, yeah, no stress. She was a little bit older, so she didn't find it. Yeah. Well, not really, but it's her. Yes, it's the hardest stuff I get every day. Yes, yes. But you do have to admire those people that took that for a living. Oh, no. And I worked around them so much, and there was a lot of burnout that happened, but they're awesome. It's okay. I mean, the nice little dusting last night.
All of a sudden, I was sitting there, I said, is that raining? My husband was sitting there, and if I miss something, I'm going to run. Like, I'll still be here to fix it. You know, I will look it over.
Thank you.
But you know, our winter started so late.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Carey. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And that is item 1.1.
Mr. Carey, microphone, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
off to a great start. Call to order, and our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to invite Mr. Luis Becerra to come forward and lead us in the pledge today, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Luis. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to please conduct a roll call.
Trustee Carey,
Here.
Trustee Chaplin, Trustee Cunningham,
Here.
Trustee Gianoli,
Here.
Trustee Jay,
Present to be here. Happy to be here. Present to be here. One of the two.
You are a present. You're just a present.
Trustee Kramer is absent today, Trustee Rose,
Present.
Trustee Safraza,
Safe today.
There you go.
don't forget to speak into your microphones, and Trustee Sperber.
Here.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum today. This will take us to public comment. This is a section where the public may make comments to the board for items not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment this morning?
We have no public comment.
Thank you very much. This will take us to the approval of the agenda. It has been reviewed and placed before you. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Sperber.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Jay. Thank you very much. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion will carry. This carries us to item number 4.1, February 10th, 2022, regular meeting, board meeting minutes. Are there any changes or comments? Hearing none, I'll invite a motion from someone, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Cunningham.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Gianoli. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion will carry. This takes us to the President and CEO's report. Mr. Griffin.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. It's great to see everybody this morning and all of our employees here. I'd like to start my comments with our monthly safety tip from Mr. Ted Ohm. Ted, good morning.
Morning, trustees, Chairman Carey, CEO Griffin. So we're going to do a couple little past things real quick, and one is coming up this weekend. We're going to set our clocks forward, right? And we're going to check our smoke detectors. We're going to replace the batteries, check them, make sure everything works on those smoke detectors. The next thing is, and you've heard this before, is March is ladder safety. Spring's right around the corner. We're going to be bringing those ladders out. So let's just be careful with how we set those up. March is also the Brain Injury Awareness Month. And this not only is talking about like a strike to the head, think like Bob Saget, it's been in the news recently, but also strokes caused by substance abuse. Could be infection, some kind of a disease, or just life in general. Warning signs include weakness, numbness, decreased coordination, slurred speech, unusual behavior, and of course, convulsions and seizures. These signs can be very minor and really hard to identify. So you guys have heard me tell stories. We use this personal experience to learn from others about what we've been exposed to. So I have two quick stories, and usually I try to keep things lighthearted around when we do this, but in this particular case, it's not going to be that, it's not going to be very good. So the first involves a young gentleman that was riding one of those Victorian bikes, the one with the big tire up front, little tire, and he was practicing for a parade with some of his friends, fell off, bumped his head, did the right thing, went to the hospital and was checked out. They said, you just have a minor concussion, go home, and if any of the conditions I said earlier come up, get back in here. So he did what they said, went to bed that night, died in his sleep. So you just never know. You got to do you got to have these things checked out. The next one is a gentleman who has done work here at the airport, done quite a bit of work for us, and sometime in the 3 to 4 weeks prior to the larger stroke, he had a stroke. He didn't tell his wife, he didn't tell his boss, nobody. He may not have even known he had a stroke. So he just kind of let it go. And when he was here on the job, and this is just recently, within the past 2 months, he just seemed a little off when I was talking to him. Memory wasn't quite what it used to be, but as you're busy every day, you don't recognize these things as being a condition that you should be concerned with. So he ended up, got a cold or something. Of course, he got tested for COVID. He had another one that this time made him fall. He was at home. His wife got him in bed. He didn't want to go, refused to go to the hospital. So 2 days later, she can't get him out of bed. She calls the ambulance. By the time he gets to the hospital, it's too late. He's in a coma and passes away within 48 hours. So he did everything wrong. So we just need to be prepared for these things. Wear your hard hats. Wear your helmets of any kind, whether it's motorcycle, you're climbing up a mountain, you're bike riding. But wear that helmet because it protects you and it's going to protect your family's future. I mean, I get not wearing a helmet when you're riding a motorcycle. I do it because it's a smart thing to do. So those are the safety tips for today. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Ted, very much. Mr. Chair, just a couple comments from me this morning. I'll keep it brief. We have some really fantastic special recognitions I want to get to. But first off, it really is great to see everybody in this room. You can see faces again. No masks required anymore. That is really great unless you're in the public space of an airport or in an aircraft. The current TSA mandate for masking expires on March 18th, next Friday. The industry is anxiously awaiting to see if that is going to be extended again. Everybody's got their ear to the ground, and TSA is not giving us any indication whatsoever. So they're probably going to decide next week. They're getting pressure certainly from industry to release those requirements. The A4A Airlines for America is pushing very hard to lift the masking requirements inside aircraft to eliminate a lot of the conflict that has occurred there. But that is a big milestone we're all waiting on. Since our last board meeting in February, the business here has been extremely strong. Passenger traffic higher than both 2019 and 2020 levels. And I say 2020 because the first 2 months of 2020 at this airport were very strong. It was about this time 2 years ago that all the COVID impacts really started hitting and everything started shutting down. But we had 2 great months in 2020. We've been 5% better than that. Business very strong here. And I'll say it feels like from our industry we're going to careen from one crisis to another. The extraordinary price increases of fuel will also hit the airlines. It is already beginning, and in every instance in history when that happens, there's an immediate impact to aviation. Discretionary income reduces, and so people stop buying tickets. More importantly, the airlines are paying per gallon similar to what we pay. It's actually a little bit more for Jet A, and it's going up rapidly. And so we will probably see service impacts. I'm sure they're assessing the profitability of all their routes right now, deciding where they can keep flying. So we're preparing for headwinds. You know, it felt like we were going to turn the corner and take off, and maybe we still will, but a lot of airports are going to feel a lot of impacts from air service, depending on how long this conflict goes and how long the impacts to energy and fuel hit us. But it feels like it may be for a while. So eyes wide open on that. The other impact I think that we'll feel and that we're preparing for from the war in Ukraine is cyber concerns and cybersecurity, and this is in the news constantly right now. So I'm going to turn over the rest of my time to Randy Carlton, our Chief Finance and Administrative Officer. We have been making some changes in our cyber approach to staffing and organizational changes, so I want to make the board aware of that. So Randy, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Carey, CEO Griffin, members of the board, guests in the audience. That is a very valid point. Cybersecurity is at the forefront of our minds, especially as we see the rise in geopolitical threats and concerns. And there are a few points of light, if you will, that I'd like to connect as that frame of the IT vision that we have for RTAA. And one is on this agenda, you'll be asked to approve an IT master plan, and that was recommended by the Finance Committee just on Tuesday, and that will lay the groundwork for the next 3 to 5 years for our IT infrastructure. It will also address our IT staffing requirements. As you can imagine, as we embark upon our ambitious capital improvement program, that we want to have the forethought of knowing what the technology requirements will be of these different projects so that we're not having to tear up concrete or pavement or furnishings to address the IT needs in the future. The second point of light is our cybersecurity assessment, and we have just recently completed a study, and that study will be discussed with the board in closed session on April 14th. Let me remind the board that during the mid-year budget review process, if you are gracious in providing us with additional staffing resources, and we have a new IT security manager, and through a small reorganization in the IT department, I'm pleased to announce that Marty, our very own Marty Mueller, has accepted the position of IT security manager. He comes to the authority with, of course, 30-plus years of experience. He teaches a subject on cybersecurity, so we're just pleased to have that resource in-house to place in that position. He is now the leader of a new unit called the IT Security Unit. It consists of 3 positions, and they are charged with developing an IT security plan that will address cybersecurity. They will be asked to interface with local law enforcement, regional law enforcement, and of course the Department of Defense, and to tune in to all the alerts and concerns that are being raised globally. The third point I'd like to address is a part of that reorganization. We do have new leadership in our IT department. Art Rimp, who you're familiar with, is also an existing employee. You would think that he's been here much longer than the 2 years that he has been with the authority. But we're very pleased to fulfill some succession planning goals and to promote Art into the IT director CIO position. Another acolyte of Art is that he is a certified member of the AAAE. He has 30 years experience in IT with 20 years in leadership positions. So we're very pleased to have Art at the helm of our IT security unit and department. So those are the connecting points of our IT vision, and look forward to discussing these plans further with the board in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. And as Randy said, we'll be back in April with a closed session to go through the cybersecurity scan of what we're seeing from a threat perspective. And if anything were to evolve sooner than that, well, we can certainly convene if we need to. But we're trying to play some offense here for good reasons and defense. Mr. Chair, that completes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time on item 6, there are board member reports and updates. Does any board member wish to make a report? Trustee Cunningham.
Thank you. Earlier this week, the Regional Air Service Corporation met for a board meeting. And we had a quick update from Hassan from the airport and Trish discussing the meetings that they had at the Routes convention that they recently went to. One of the things that came out of that meeting was some hopefully potential interest in air service out of Canada, which it's a bit of a long stretch at this point. My point in bringing it up is that was put forward to the Regional Air Service Corporation to see if they would be in favor and support of it. And while it seems like a no-brainer, it's a huge catchment area, of course, and so there's different priorities depending on what jurisdiction you're from, but the Regional Air Service Corporation was unanimous in that they wanted to support that service. And the other thing that this organization is doing with all of the different destination marketing organizations around the catchment area, we all have different pockets of data that we rely on just for the different geographic areas. And the airport also has data that they can share. So this group is making a concerted effort to pull the DMOs together and the airport to get some new data which would supersede and be much more comprehensive than each of the little pockets. So we look forward to that, and that will be something that both Hassan and Trish and the airport staff can use as they are out on the road trying to get more service. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else needing to make a report? Trustee Sferrazza?
Yeah, we had our strategic board retreat at RSCBA last Friday. A few things came out of that: the extension of the operation of the downtown facilities for another 10 years, which was big, and increasing the special events funding from $500,000 to $1 million, which is long overdue. And Trustee Jay, a focus on sports tourism. So get those flat fields done already.
Work on it as we speak.
And then just a second thing that's not related to the RSCBA, but there's discussions going on regarding the regionalization of fire service. I see Mr. Brown here. I just want to make sure that the airport is involved in those discussions as those progress. So I see our chief here and Darren. Just making sure we have a seat at the table as those discussions evolve, I think are going to be critical. So thank you.
Trustee Sperber.
Yeah, I want to talk, one of the things you know I do is chair planning construction, and just want to, at a high level, say something. I'm lucky enough to be able to go through many private meetings and talk to our staff and see what Darren's doing, what they're doing in this area. And I'll tell you, we've never been so busy on things, and our guys, there's a lot of great thinking. The projects that are coming out, there's good interface between all the different groups now, and you know, people are talking and brainstorming. But the point I want to get to the rest of the board is they are working a lot of hours and doing a great job, and it's pretty tough. And when you start looking at projects, you're trying to get this parking lot out of here versus we do this construction and these kind of things. They are doing an excellent job. Just want to thank everybody.
Well said, Mr. Sperber. Trustee
Just
Sferrazza.
one more question, and Brian and to our PR team, which has done an amazing job. Thank you. The spring break's coming up, I think next Monday, and the parking issue, again, I mean, just pulling in here, are we doing some outreach efforts on that? I know you guys are on it, but I think that's gonna probably be an issue for the next couple weeks, so.
Mr. Chair.
Please.
Brian, you can speak to the media release we will do pre-spring break, and on the agenda is an agenda item for parking. We can speak more in depth. Parking is going to be a challenge for the rest of this year, to be honest with you. So our public messaging is really important. Go ahead, Brian.
Right, we have the parking widget on our website right now, but we also have saved dollars in our advertising campaign to be hitting before and during spring break. So we've increased the digital footprint that we have on that in the past 2 months and also all through the month of March. We're certainly aware of it from a customer service perspective, security personnel perspective as well, and we literally are in constant communication 7 days a week, 24/7 with our parking team when they need extra push from us and support. We do a press release before all the busy travel times. We do that again as we head into the spring break as well. So, yeah, we're aware, we're ready for it, and we're gonna push really hard.
Any other trustees have a report? Mr. J.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just real quick, Users Committee Monday night went extremely well. I think that was probably one of our best meetings ever. Very positive, very productive, and huge accolades to Darren. So thank you very much. That's it, real short one.
Thank you, Richard. Darren, you had some additional comments.
Unfortunately, yes. Brian just informed me that the TSA mask mandate has been extended to April 18th. So for the room, sorry about that. Like everybody else, I look forward to when it's not a mandate and it's a choice, but that's just out this morning. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, last chance. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 7.1. This is special recognition to Luis Becerra. And Mr. Harvey, please, and Mr. Gordon.
Morning, Mr. Chair, trustees, Mr. Griffin. For the record, Larry Harvey, Chief People, Culture, and Equity Officer. Just want to tell you that one of the best things about my job is I get to talk about special recognitions for our employees. And it's been a long time since I got to do it like this, and they got to be here. And I can just tell you, and I think you probably felt that the energy in this room is just amazing, because we have all these people here to not only be here to be recognized, but behind them is all the people supporting them. So I'm really excited to be here. So the first today, I got an email, our team got an email from Scott Gordon, our Reno State Airport manager. And he says, I have an employee who just passed his exam to be a citizen and to be taking the oath in a few weeks. Is there anything we can do? And of course, we went, of course. The first thing is there's things we do internally, but the first thing I did was took a few seconds to write an email to Darren and say, do you think we can do this at the board? And I think he must have been responding as I was writing, because it came back immediately, absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to tell you, we're really excited to have Luis here. He's got his wife, Claudia, and one of their sons, Jesus, with them today. But we created this little basket of goodies. Want to thank Maggie, my team in marketing, who always makes the basket look beautiful for that. But I'm going to ask Scott Gordon to come up and say a few words.
Morning, Chairman Carey, members of the board, Mr. Griffin. I am Scott Gordon, and I'm the manager of Reno State Airport, and I am very happy to finally be down here in front of you all. So every day I am honored, and I get the privilege to drive up to State Airport and work with just an absolutely amazing staff of people. And I would actually like to call them out right now, because my entire staff is down here today. Hey. So Luis is here, and the rest, you'll see some of the golden shirts right there. But it truly is an honor for me to work with this group. So I am here to give you a happy story about one of our team members. Luis, would you come, please? Luis Becerra is originally from Jalisco, Mexico, and about 15 years ago, he came to Northern Nevada for employment opportunity. 2016, he was hired in airfield maintenance downtown as a temporary seasonal worker, and through his just absolute unending work ethic and wonderful attitude, in 2018, he was hired as a full-time employee as a maintenance technician at Reno State Airport. About a month ago, Luis asked for a half a day off. It was a Friday morning. And later that morning, he came into the terminal building with a big smile on his face, and he was so excited to inform us that with the support and encouragement from his wife, Claudia, and his family, that morning he had completed his final interview, completed his final checks, and passed the big test. So today, Chairman Carey, members of the board, Mr. Griffin, it is my honor to introduce the RTAA's newest American citizen, Luis Becerra. Basket for you. Do you want to say anything, or are you good?
Doesn't want to.
We'll get one later. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not really good at being talking in public, but I want to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dern, to invite me at this board meeting. And thanks, everyone, my team. And I want to appreciate my wife. Without her support, it could be like this. It could be hard. But I want to appreciate my family and all of you guys to give me the opportunity to be part of this team. Thank you.
Mr. Harvey, you're up for item 7.2, which is an retiree recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excited to be up here again for another exciting opportunity to recognize an employee. We have especially loved on our people who are able to retire and go have fun after being here, putting all such hard work into their time here. And so we have a firefighter we want to recognize. I'm going to ask Chief to come on up and speak about it.
Chairman Carey, trustees, CO Griffin, good morning. As a fire chief, there are a few things I enjoy more than recognizing our people and celebrating them, especially in front of a crowd like this. However, it's always bittersweet when one of our members moves on in their life, especially when they've been here as long as someone is Fred. Fred, can you come on up here for us? So just a little background on Fred. Fred Marin started his career with the Reno Tahoe Airport Fire Department in July of 1998 after serving as a firefighter at Fallon Naval Air Station. And he has been a steady presence in the department ever since. Starting as a firefighter, Fred was promoted to driver-operator in February of 2009, and he regularly served as an acting captain as well. In addition, Fred holds numerous certifications such as confined space rescue, hazardous materials operations, and emergency medical technician, just to name a few. Fred has been a reliable, trustworthy, and positive member of this team, and we will miss him in our ranks. We wish him the best in retirement with his beautiful wife, Sherry, who couldn't make it here today. And I just personally want to congratulate you, Fred, on completing a career. And I want to also thank you for years of dedicated service to this airport. So, congratulations. Well, no, not yet. So may I, Larry? So Fred, this is just a plaque. It's not big enough to correctly represent the feelings we have for you and the best wishes on your retirement. But this is something recognizing your years of service with us and remember us by.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Hey, Chief, you might want to stay there. Item 7.3 is a wonderful day here at the airport and a particularly wonderful day for our fire service. It's the swearing in of our new battalion chief. Chief Carnes, could you lead us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Trustees, CEO Griffin, this morning I am very pleased to introduce you to the newest members of the Airport Fire Department, our 3 new battalion chiefs. Gentlemen, will you please stand up? These gentlemen represent a major leap forward for airport fire operations on a 24-hour basis, and I can tell you they are a very welcome addition to our command team. Before conducting their oath of office, I'd like to take a moment to share just a little bit background on each chief. And gentlemen, as I call your name, if you'll please step up here and join us, okay? First, we have Battalion Chief Sean Holbrook. Sean grew up in Southern California and moved to Reno in 1998. He has over 20 years of experience in the fire service. Prior to coming to us, he was a full-time captain with the Sparks Fire Department for the last 10 years and has been working as an acting battalion chief for Sparks for the last 4. Sean has an associate's degree in fire science from the Truckee Meadows Community College and a bachelor's degree in fire science from Columbia Southern University. Sean and his wife have 3 daughters, and they enjoy skiing, mountain biking, camping, and spending time on Lake Tahoe. Sean will be in command of A Shift, and he will also be serving as our Special Projects Chief. Next, we have Battalion Chief Todd Inglesby. Please stay up here. Don't go away. No. Okay. Prior to coming to Airport Fire, Todd lived in Las Vegas for over 20 years. After spending 10 years in the hotel management industry, Todd left his position and pursued a career in firefighting and was a fire captain with the Las Vegas Fire and Rescue Department for over 15 years. While with the Las Vegas Fire Department, Todd was an incident commander on their hazmat team, as well as the president of Las Vegas Firefighters Local 1285 and president of the Professional Firefighters of Nevada. And in that position, he served as a leader to more than 2,700 professional firefighters working in 22 departments located throughout the state of Nevada. In his time off, he enjoys spending time with his wife, Chelsea, who is a 4th-generation Nevadan from right here in Reno, and their 5 children. In addition to commanding C Shift, Todd will be our training and compliance chief. And last, we have Battalion Chief Corey Whitlock. Corey was born and raised in Incline Village and comes from a large family of kids. As a matter of fact, his older brother is a captain with the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District. Corey has a rich history of working in northern Nevada. Before moving to Las Vegas, Corey worked for 5 years as a firefighter and paramedic in Story County and taught locally at Truckee Meadows Community College. Corey left Story County for the Las Vegas Fire and Rescue Department, where he spent the last 11 years working as a firefighter, paramedic, and captain at Fire Station 1, which just happens to be one of the busiest fire stations in the nation. In addition, he also served as the secretary of Las Vegas Firefighters Local 1285 and as the district vice president for the Professional Firefighters of Nevada. Corey earned an associate's degree in fire science from Truckee Meadows Community College and a bachelor's degree in clinical health science from the University of Washington. After earning both degrees, Corey continued with his education and received his physician's assistant accreditation from the University of Washington School of Medicine. He is married to his beautiful wife, Savannah, and they have a brand new, and I do mean brand new, baby girl named Sunny. Corey and his family enjoy outdoor sports such as biking, hiking, wakeboarding, camping, and skiing when he's not working. Corey will be taking command of B Shift, and he will also be serving as our EMS chief for the department. So, trustees, Mr. Chairman, CEO Griffin, these are your 3 new battalion chiefs. As you can see from this brief snapshot, all three of these gentlemen are extremely qualified, and we are very fortunate to have them join our department. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the board and CEO Griffin for supporting us in making this very, very substantial upgrade to our operations. I would also like to say thank you to Chief Mike Brown for his support and help in getting this process done. Thank you for joining us today. And Mr. Griffin, if it's all right with you, I'd like to go ahead and conduct the oath of office with these three gentlemen at this time.
The sooner the better, Chief.
Okay. I state your name. Okay, that was a test. You guys did good. Okay. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the state of Nevada, and the laws and ordinances of Washoe County and the city of Reno. I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of battalion chief, and I pledge to carry out these duties to the best of my ability. And I will honor and respect the mission, goals, purposes, and policies of the Reno Tahoe Airport Fire Department. So help me God. Congratulations, gentlemen. Welcome aboard.
Smile.
Trustees Ferrazza.
Mr. Chair, I do want to thank Chief Brown again. I was just reminiscing with Trustee Sperber on what it took. I remember we were back in this room, Chief Brown, and we had quite a lively discussion on bringing in the battalion chiefs, and I think it was, we brought you on to give us that expertise and to our new chief as well. And just thank you to our CEO, and thank you to our fire department. But this was a road to get here, as the board remembers, and just happy to see it happen today.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll go to item 7.4. This is being presented by Chris Jensen. It's regarding a public safety response.
Good morning, Chair Carey, members of the board, CEO Griffin. What a great day to be the Chief of Public Safety, or Operations and Public Safety, right? It's great to see the team here, to be able to do it in person without a mask on. I don't think I've ever been more proud. I don't think I will ever have another board meeting or that I've ever had a board meeting that will be this much fun. So forgive me for my enthusiasm here, but I have to tell you, this is a landmark day for me. So. With that in mind, you've had a steady dose of ops and public safety, and we're going to continue with that. We have a couple more things we want to share with you. And so I'd ask Officer Tran if you would come up here with me. And I think Officer Tanner is not here. Is that correct? Okay. So we're going to start this off with a letter of commendation for outstanding service. And we have a couple of events. So you've heard over the course of time, I'm sure, airports that have had responses that have maybe not gone right. Or, certainly there's been plenty of stories in the media about disturbances on airplanes now because of masks and, various things. But you don't often hear about responses that have gone right. And so I think it's important. There's been a lot of conversation in this room about operations and public safety over the years. And I think it's important we start highlighting some of our successes and our wins. And so I want to do that right now with this first one. So I'm going to read this letter of commendation to you. It says, the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority Police Department believes in recognition of police officers for the actions and outstanding service which they render to the Airport Authority, to the community, and to their fellow officers. In keeping with this belief, the Airport Authority Police Department recognizes the following officers for outstanding service: Officer Quan Tran, Officer Andrew Tanner, and Detective Chris Waddle from the Reno Police Department, and we'll reach out to him and share this with him as well. During the early months of 2021, a series of property crimes were committed on airport property and out in the community involving the theft of catalytic converters from vehicles parked in public areas. I believe it's going to be fuel next. The value of catalytic converters is far more than just the monetary value of the item, as removal cause significant damage and can make the vehicle inoperable. In some instances, insurance will not cover this type of damage. There were numerous victims at the airport and throughout the region. In fact, stealing catalytic converters for the value of the precious metals inside of them has become a national problem. The above officers went above and beyond in their investigation and were committed to solving these very serious crimes. These three officers took the time to gather evidence, analyze information, interview persons of interest, but most of all, to collaborate as a team. And you hear us talk a lot about team. I want to emphasize that fact. With the other officers and agencies to help them solve the crimes that occurred and to assist the victims of these crimes. As a result of their work, suspects were identified and charged for their offenses against members of our community. In recognition of the time and effort these officers took to continue their investigations and pursue leads, they were able to perform the necessary detective work and execute their jobs with a high degree of professionalism. This service award is offered to them for their dedication and devotion to service and their willingness to go above and beyond to help the community in the true spirit of community policing, given on this 10th day of March, 2022. And so we have a medal. Officer Tran.
Thank you very much.
So here's what I can tell you about Officer Tran. Is he said about the most in that sentence, or those three words that I've ever heard him say. He's a very quiet and humble person, but he performs at this level all the time. This is honestly what we would expect from him. So thank you for your dedication and your hard work, and thanks to Tanner, to Officer Tanner. You guys will make sure that he receives the award as well, and we'll reach out to Officer Weddle at the Reno PD. Thank you. So why I'm on the topic of police, one of the things that I also needed to share with you, and I meant to do it up front and failed to, is that if you recall back in August, so that seems like forever ago, we had come to this board to receive authorization to receive or to go out and purchase new police patrol vehicles. We all thought that was a very easy and normal thing to do. Well, to this date, we have not yet received them. However, I have good news to report. They will be here tonight, I'm told, or early tomorrow morning. They're on a truck. Hopefully they're in the state of Nevada. This is something Darren asks me on a regular basis, and I never have an acceptable answer because they are not here yet. But I will be texting him pictures, even though he might not be able to look at them at the time. But we will have them hopefully tonight. Fingers crossed. Okay, so the next event that I want to share with you, again, this is really a true example of teamwork amongst the ops and public safety team. And I really felt it was important to share this with the board because, again, we hear a lot of negative news, but you very, very rarely hear about the positive stories. And so I really felt this was an important one to share with you. So, again, I'm going to read so I get all the facts right. On Friday, February 11, 2021, at approximately 15:50 hours, officers were dispatched to Gate C4 for the report of an aircraft diversion. Aircom advised that Alaskan Airlines Flight 3341, which was a flight that was from San Jose to Boise, was diverted due to a disturbance on the aircraft that had a subject that was restrained and other passengers that had been injured. Aircom also advised the flight crew had requested medical attention due to those injuries. Upon arrival of the aircraft, witnesses indicated that the suspect had assaulted someone on board the aircraft and had to be restrained to prevent further injury. I'll mention that there was 2 firefighters actually that were on board the aircraft that were the ones that restrained the individual. The passengers were visibly upset, and there was a high level of confusion accompanying the incident as passengers identified themselves to officers as witnesses and victims. Officers were able to coordinate their investigation with the FBI, who responded very quickly, as well as airport operations, our airport duty managers, airport fire, and airport communications. At this point, officers also learned that the suspect had a very small child in his care, a 1-year-old. Jessica was her name. Officers immediately started to conduct an investigation regarding what had occurred on board the aircraft, but also possible child endangerment. Officers concluded in their investigation that the suspect was in possession of a controlled substance and was under the influence of a controlled substance, and therefore a danger to himself and to others. Officers contacted Washoe County Human Protection Services, or Child Protective Services, excuse me, and requested assistance. A passenger had taken the baby while in flight, but police compliance officer Tracy Betancourt, is Tracy with us? Tracy, thank you, came to the scene and assisted officers by caring for the child until CPS could arrive and take custody of the child. I want to commend and publicly recognize the law enforcement officers and all the employees who responded to this incident. All showed outstanding dedication and commitment and acted in a manner that reflects favorably on the RTAA. They all went above and beyond to see that service was given, justice was served, and a very innocent little baby was protected. So I want to publicly acknowledge, many of them are here, the officers and the employees that were involved, so help me. Officer Anthony Marangi, Officer Leroy Hutchinson, Officer Pete Dunbar, wave if you're here, Sergeant Keith Bobko, Officer Ernie Van Ferber, Officer DJ DeCina, Police Compliance Specialist Tracy Betancourt, Airport Duty Managers Keith Coleman and Scott Gawazda, who Scott is one of our new ADMs, has been here about 2 months now, I think. Airport Communications Specialist Mia Mazzetti. Mia, you're 3 months, 4 months?
Yeah, 4 months.
So brand new, did an amazing job. Marcela Esquivel and Vanessa Colmeranes. Are either one of them here? Okay, so I also want to acknowledge it was Airport Fire Shift B that responded, and so Brian Comas, I saw him, there he is in the back, Jeff McLeod, Augie Arroyo, I don't think Augie's here, is he? Yeah, okay, and so I just want I want you to be aware of what a fine group of professionals we have. We've talked a lot about what we're doing within ops and public safety. Here's 2 good examples of that, and I hope in the future we have more. So with that, thank you very much. Oh, I had one other thing too. I believe yesterday was Chief Karn's 1-year anniversary with the Airport Authority.
I just want to really emphasize what an outstanding team response this was. One, this board did not read about this in the newspaper or see it on social media, which happens over and over with incidents on board aircraft in flight. When it gets to the airport, everybody's filming everything, and this response was so professional that you did not hear about it. Also, I want to emphasize that the FAA has expressed extreme frustration with airports and their inability or unwillingness to actually charge people when an airplane lands at your airport and a disturbance has occurred on board the aircraft, disrupts everybody's lives, and oftentimes those people are released after a short amount of questioning, and our team made sure that did not happen. The FAA is really asking local jurisdictions to take charge of these matters, work with the FAA, and make sure that there is a penalty. That when you disrupt a flight like this, when you physically endanger an aircraft full of people, there has to be a penalty. So I could not be prouder of this team and this airport for doing exactly what the FAA has asked all of us to do, and to do it in such a professional manner that you didn't see it on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere else. So again, congratulations to our entire team, and thank you for representing us so well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Any comments by the trustees? Seeing none, we'll move on to items under consent. We do have 3 consent items. These items were heard by the committees and were all approved unanimously. At this time, would anyone like to pull one of those items? Seeing none, I would be looking for a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee
Second.
Sperber. And thank you, Trustee Jay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion will carry. Thank you very much. We now move to our discussion items. The first one is 9.1. This is the authorization of our President and CEO to execute agreement for the Information Technology Master Planning Services. This is being presented by Mr. Art Remp. And congratulations, Mr. Remp, on your new position.
Thank you, Chair Carey. So, Chair Carey, CEO Griffin, trustees, the purpose of my presentation today is to gain your approval for an IT master plan. This supports all of our strategic priorities here at the airport, from our highest priority for safety and security to our customer experience, to facilities of the future, to our people. There's an underlying technology component to each one of those. So a little bit of background. IT has developed organically here at the airport from one computer that Marty Mueller brought in over 20 plus years ago in a very simple network to now a very complex network with miles and miles of fiber optic cable, hundreds of computers and servers, hosted applications, both in-house and in the cloud, and remote access for our employees. So it's time for us to take a step back and develop a master plan of where we're going for our future. The approach that we took to developing the master plan was to develop an RFQ. We wanted to partner with an expert in airport IT planning for this effort. So we sent out the RFQ. We got 5 responses back. Our evaluation committee reviewed it, narrowed it down to 2, which was Ross & Berrezzini and Barish Incorporated. And both of those are very, very good experts in their fields. And after much deliberation, we chose Barish Incorporated as our partner for this effort. So a little bit about Barish. They're established in 1999, and they are a privately held organization. They're a leader in airport strategic business and IT planning. Here's a sampling of some of the recent engagements they've done with similar-sized airports recently. I'll note there that one of them, or 3 of them, are the Phoenix Sky Harbor, Las Vegas McCarran, which is now Harry Reid Airport, and San Diego Airport. Key individuals that will be working with us on this process include Samuel Ingalls. He'll be the principal in charge. Sam comes from Harry Reid Airport. I keep thinking McCarran. I'm still trying to get that name, Harry Reid. He spent over 20 years there, 30 years there. And Sam sits on the Airport Council's International World IT Standing Committee, which means he brings an international perspective for emerging technologies and for best practices to us. So we're really pleased to have him part of this effort. And he's on the phone also, or on Zoom. Peter Longoria will be a project manager. He's worked at over 20 North American airports, and he recently completed the Phoenix Sky Harbor IT strategic plan. And then the third person is Ted Melnick. And Ted has 30 years experience leading IT organizations and evaluating IT for airports. So the process will begin with a kickoff and then discovery. Barish is going to review everything that we've got going on here at the airport, from our strategic plan and vision to our current in-flight projects for the ticket hall expansion, CONRAC, the Concourse study, and the landside study. We'll be doing interviews with everybody that we possibly can in the amount of time that we have, from senior leadership down to staff, to our concessionaires, TSA, CBP, airline staff, because we want to get a really good picture of what our future is going to be for technology, what we're going to need. Once those interviews are done, I've also had them include a TIS department review to make sure that we have the right strengths and weaknesses, not weaknesses, but the right strengths in the department, and to just make sure that we're staffed appropriately for the future, and doing best practices. So after all that discovery is done, we're going to come back to an insights workshop where they'll present to us what they heard, and we'll make sure that that's accurate. And then after that, they'll present a draft IT master plan. We'll take 2 weeks after that to review it and finalize it. And then the final plan will be a 5-year master plan with 3 years of detailed recommendations. And with the changing rate of technologies, this is going to require an annual update, and we'll be doing that internally as an IT department. Anticipate the effort to take 18 weeks. So if we start mid-March, by the mid-July, mid to end of July, we expect to have that finalized plan. This is a significant investment, and it is a budgeted item. We've tied payment to milestones, as you can see noted here, all the way through the project. So in conclusion, we're at a pivotal point regarding use and management of IT services and technology. We've used multi-year tactical plans for our applications in the past, but not had this type of a strategic plan. I feel we need this plan to guide us for our future. And you may be wondering why we haven't done it sooner. Well, the best time to plant an apple tree was 10 years ago, and the next best time is today. And so with that, it's recommended that the board approve the following motion. It's moved to authorize the present CEO to execute an agreement with Barish Incorporated for information technology master planning services for an amount not to exceed $179,841. And be willing to take any questions. And Sam and Peter are also on the Zoom for any questions. So thank you.
Do any trustees have any questions? Jennifer Cunningham.
I have a question. Will you help me to understand? I know cybersecurity is just a facet of this. Mr. Carlton had indicated that we have a assessment that will be shared with the board in April. And on the staff report, it indicates that Barish will address cybersecurity impacts. And I'm just curious, how do those two components fit together?
So the cybersecurity report will be part of that discovery and review. We've already been talking with them, and they've already asked me for the plan. And I said, as soon as we got this approved, I'll get it to you. And they're going to review that, then we'll incorporate that into our master plan.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question from Trustee Rose.
Just a comment. I just want to say that this makes me very happy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Rose, could I invite you to make the motion?
I would be so honored. I move to approve item as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Takes us to item 9.2, the authorization of the President CEO to execute a contract with KPS3 for professional website redesign, development, maintenance, and hosting. This is being presented by our own Stacy Sunday.
Good morning, Chair Carey, CEO Griffin, and trustees, staff in attendance. This is our recommendation for a website vendor. Staff is recommending that the board authorize the president CEO to award a contract to KPS3 for professional website design, development, maintenance, and hosting in the amount of $129,500. The goal is really to improve the experience for our airport customers as they interact with the virtual front door of the airport. What customers are really looking for when they come to the website is information. So whether it's the parking tool, arrivals and departures, TSA wait times, where we fly to, we just want to make sure we have all of that at our customers' fingertips. So some background, we put out an RFP December 6, 2021. We had an evaluation committee, and thanks to trustees Rose and Cunningham for serving on that committee. It was quite a process. 2 IT staff members, which includes Art, and then 3 public affairs and marketing staff members, Brian Kolpin and Lindsay Tromerhauser, who are also here today. We received an enormous response, 14 proposals. We narrowed that down to 3 finalists, and with those 14 proposals, we got over 200 questions that we needed to answer, which took our team over a day to really dig through. So Everyone took the RFP very seriously, and I'm very happy to say that we voted to select KPS3, who is in attendance today. We have Rob Gatke, and then we have Stephanie Cruz joining us on the phone if you have any questions when we are done with the presentation. To give you some background on KPS3, they are local from Reno, full-service branding agency, PR firm, and digital shop, established in 1991, and they have 53 employees. Scope and timeline. The scope of work will include discovery and strategy. This phase is really where we start to look at what our website is lacking, what we like on other websites, and how we can really improve the experience. Then we'll go through a design and user experience phase, followed by the web development phase, and then finally activation, which is also the launch. And I do want to be clear that this encompasses all of our web properties, so our main RenoAirport.com website, ReadyJet Go, and then a microsite, for an example, is the Reno Stead Airport. Photo and video shoot are also included, as we know we need some new assets. A lot of the pictures you're seeing up here were taken quite a while ago, so we're really excited to add to our digital library. And then we're aiming for a summer 2022 launch, which is a very aggressive timeline, so the team's going to be hard at work, and we are thankful to KPS3 that they think they can hit that too, so we're really excited about that. The contract amount's just broken down by the stages you'll see there. And then I do always like to point out KPS3 has been a partner of ours for a long time, which is not why they were chosen, but it is lovely that they provided this frequent flyer discount of $15,000. We've been with them 15 years, giving our total to $129,500. So with that, I'd like to present this recommendation. Staff is recommending that the board authorize the president and CEO to award a contract to KPS3 for professional website redesign, development, maintenance, and hosting in the amount of $129,500. And I'm happy to take questions.
But before I'd like to address some questions that during the committee meeting on Tuesday. There were a lot of questions that, especially from Trustee Rose, that were about the a la carte menu that was included in some of the RFPs, but also from KPS3. And just to kind of simplify it for those of you who are not deep in the web world, and I know a lot of you are not, and respectfully so, buying a car is a little bit like working on a website. No offense to KPS3 to compare you to a car dealership. But when you look at that car on the lot, you can decide that you want to go with what's on the sticker or go into the showroom and in your negotiation decide you're going to order a car and get those wheels you've always wanted put on that car, or that trailer hitch, or that luggage rack, or that great stereo system you've always dreamed of. However, you may have a brother who can install that stereo system and get it for you at a great deal. You may have a brother-in-law that for a six-pack of beer is going to put that trailer hitch on the back of your car because he's a great outdoorsman. And that's how it is with KPS3 and our team. We sat down, had a great negotiation with them. We had $200,000 budgeted for this. I don't know if KPS3 was really aware of that or not. They did their due diligence as a good company and tried to upsell us. And with the team that we have with a lot of experience, we held our ground. And they know our team. They have had our website now for several years. And so we had a really good negotiation. We did want to do the photo asset library because that's not just going to help us with the website, but as we go into more R&O and the construction projects, we need more video, we need more photos in our asset library, and we're going to do that. We did want to go with the TSA wait time information on our new website. However, there is a team in the airport right now negotiating with another entity where we may get that for free. If that doesn't pan out, we'll be on the hotline to Rod right away for that. But what we did is we made a great deal, a great negotiation, and we were able to save $71,000 in that negotiation. And if we need to go back to that, we know we can come back and do some more additions to that. We're really happy with where we are with the website, the speed that we can get it done, and how that positions us for where we need to go with the projects that we have ahead of us. And with that, we're happy to take any questions.
Trustee Rose has some questions.
Actually, just some comments. As chair of the Finance Committee, as well as being on this special committee, I do want to just let all the board members know that KPS3 provided an amazing presentation. And they brought forward some really good stuff. I also want to say that I'm very happy to be able to award this to a locally owned company. That makes me happy. But most importantly, I think the website redesign is so needed and necessary, and I'm excited that we can move forward on this. So thank you all for your hard work very much.
Are there any other questions? Jennifer Cunningham.
I'm just going to make a quick comment, too, that it's very ambitious on both KPS3 side and the airport side for such a fast turnaround. You guys are going to be working a lot just on that. So congratulations. To Jennifer's point, the presentation and the proposal that KPS 3 put through, not only, in my opinion, was the strongest one, but it also really gave a little bit of thought and effort towards integration and integrating the airport brand into the website. And what did come out of it too was the photo shoot, which I fully support. So it brings the website to a more contemporary and a real level feeling. And all of that good stuff. And they really were the most cost-effective approach. So that was appreciated. Thank you.
The questions? The chair will invite a motion.
I would love to make this motion to award the contract. Staff is I would like to recommend that we authorize the president and CEO to award a contract to KPS 3 for professional website redesign, development, maintenance, and hosting in the amount of $129,500. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the KPS team and also to the airport team for a fine job. Thank you.
Thank you.
This takes us to a fun item, 9.4. It's a workspace study update. Amanda Twitchell will be leading this item.
From all the way. Good morning, Chair, Trustee, CEO Griffin, staff, and if there's any guests left, it all cleared out. Amanda Twitchell, Senior Project Manager for the Airport Authority, and I'm really just here to introduce Max Hirschenau with HK Architects. He and his team have been hard at work for the past few months working on the workspace study, and I just want to note a few things. One, that we're in the draft phase still, so we're not finalized yet. We're looking for feedback, kind of have a few more meetings, and then we'll finalize maybe the end of this month or so, but still in the draft phase. The next thing is, this is a comprehensive study. We were tasked with looking at every space that is occupied by RTAA staff, and so we really wanted to create kind of a baseline so we can have a roadmap as we move forward through 5, 10, 20 years, have an idea of what needs to be done and strategically be able to handle those things. So that's, one of the main goals of this. And then lastly, even though it is comprehensive, there were some priorities. One of those is the admin space here that we occupy. We are not the highest and best use for this space. And so really looking at, how much space do we need and where can we go? And then the second priority is a police station, because as you've seen, there are some deficiencies, and so we were tasked with looking at what those deficiencies are and figuring out the best place for them. So with that, I will bring Max up.
Thanks, Amanda. Good morning, Max Hirschenau, HK Architects. Our office is here in Reno, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to the board about our study. That was an awesome introduction. I think just one thing I would add as I go through the presentation, there's no floor plans. This is a study. This is kind of 60,000, 30,000 foot level. So it was truly just a kind of an assessment of where you're at. So there's no space planning yet. That comes next, full design and all that. Those are follow-on tasks after the study. So as Amanda said, we had a really robust scope. Just to highlight a couple of them, we did meet with each department. As Amanda said, this is for the Reno Tahoe International Airport site and also Reno Stead. So we met with every department to understand their current needs, their future needs, and how they saw themselves growing as we go forward. There's a workplace strategy report. I'm just going to highlight on that. That was performed by one of our partners, Hendrickson Butler, a local company that does furniture and also environments. And it was really to kind of understand and present to the stakeholders kind of where the workplace is and where it might be going in terms of, open office, conferencing, collaboration, working from home, hybrid officing, employees popping in and out, and how that might influence and inform the airport authority going forward. We did not get into open office versus private office. We did have a lot of discussions about that, but the study doesn't make recommendations on that. Again, that's for future, future consideration. We did compare to some other airports. That was something that the airport authority wanted us to do. I will go over that. There's some interesting comparisons with 3 other airports that another one of our partners, HOK, that their aviation group helped us look at. We projected 0, 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20. So there's a 20-year time frame, big vision, but we did want to break that down. Obviously, 0 to 5 is easier to get our heads around. 20-year is, most always blue sky. It's very hard to really incorporate a 20-year vision with a lot of certainty. But we did look at those, and we're going to talk about that. Our space programming, our planning for the departments included 3 different alternatives. So we looked at big offices, medium offices, smaller offices, smaller amount of collaboration space, and bigger amount of collaboration space. So there's kind of a menu, if you will, on that. We looked at locations, as Amanda said, for administration and police, and then we also looked a little bit, and we'll talk just briefly today about some uses for this space. As administration moves out of this second floor, obviously it's not just going to sit here vacant. We want to put it to active use, hopefully make some money for the airport if we can do that. So that's our scope. The process that we went through was one of kind of starting big. We got drawings from the airport authority. We confirmed those, but I think that the middle of it is really where the rubber hit the road. Department meetings again, really great discussion. We got a lot of really good information from the departments, and this collaborative effort really weaved its way through the whole thing, the whole project. We presented to the executive team. We also had 2 charrettes. High-level planning, brainstorming sessions, and then we have developed a database that will provide the information for how we go forward in terms of what spaces are needed and where they go. So as we said, we did look at the entire airport. If I can get everywhere from the airport fire station down in the south all the way up to the airport warehousing off of Vassar, and kind of everything in between. So every building and every department was looked at. Again, a really, really broad effort. And then obviously not shown on the map, but we also looked at STED, Reno STED Airport, in terms of the Freedom Flight Terminal and their assets up at Reno STED. We've organized this is really just kind of a slide to show the organization of how these different departments and divisions are organized within the airport authority org chart, if you will. So administration, and this is really everybody that's on the second floor here now. They are proposed to stay together and relocate, as we'll talk about in a minute here. We have 4 in-terminal divisions: police, building maintenance and services, and security. Then we have our RNO campus. So these are some of those groups and buildings that are not within the terminal proper, and then our off-RNO site is the Reno State Airport. So again, kind of just a simple diagram to show who we talk to and where they are organized within the current, and in the case of the admin, the future kind of infrastructure of the airport. So I'm going to touch on the administration piece and the police piece. Again, we've got what I'm showing here on the right is our spreadsheet, basically a big, humongous Excel file with all sorts of numbers moving around in it. But we've got one of these for each division. So every one of those groups in a circle on the previous slide, we have analyzed them at a really high level. But for today's purposes, we're going to concentrate on administration and police. So the administration folks, again, up here, second floor, currently 65 staff. 0 to 5 growth, and again, this comes directly from the departments, growing to 78 within the 0 to 5, and then a 20-year vision of about 97 employees. So, pretty significant increase, obviously, from now out to 20 years, but I think what we want to focus on today is more that 0 to 5. So right now, we're projecting about 45,000 square feet of space that's needed to relocate administration and provide all the collaboration, support, and office spaces that are needed. Currently, we've got about 32,000 square feet on this second floor. So it's about a 37% increase. So pretty significant increase in terms of area. I will say that these are, and I'll share Darren's term because it's really a good one, I think, unconstrained evaluations. So these were blue sky. We told the departments, we want to hear what you need. We did not filter that. So this 45,000 square feet, I think it needs to be taken in the context of where we're at with the project. We would expect it to come down, I think, and be less, but that requires quite a bit more design work in that. So I think for where we're at right now, it's a very responsible number. It seems to align with the culture and the vision of the airport authority. So we're going to need to grow administration, pretty significantly. Our 0 to 5, we're looking to add 13 staff, about a 20% increase, and about 1,700 square feet of space. So part of the discussion in this 0 to 5 is, where do we put those people? As has been said, I mean, you live with it every day. The second floor is pretty packed. There's not really any space. And that, I think that needs to be discussed and thought about. Not an insurmountable thing, but certainly a challenge. The administration component that we're going to kind of show you, the new administration component, has a lot of collaboration spaces. The culture here is highly collaborative, energetic, a lot of discussions, certainly within divisions and groups, but also interdepartmental. So we have presented a real variety of collaboration spaces, many of which don't exist right now, from a 4-person huddle, a little place where just a couple people can get together, brainstorm, go back to their office, let's say, to a new boardroom. We're projecting about an 80-seat boardroom. I think when there's recognition, maybe that's not going to be big enough, but I think we're thinking maybe 80 seats. And then a really full palette of support spaces, a good social spaces, dining. The existing break room isn't great. It doesn't really facilitate, I think a lot of good socialization, fitness, locker rooms, little things like respite room, lactation rooms that don't exist right now. We've tried to drill down and provide as comprehensive a program as we can. So again, I think these are ballpark numbers, but for the administration, we're looking at pretty significant growth and a pretty robust program of spaces. Similar with police, we've looked at the staffing in a lot of detail, and I think just to maybe go down to the bottom, right now their staff is about 25. That includes officers handling various shifts, so they're not all here all the time, but their staffing is 25. From what we heard from them, relatively small growth over the 0 to 5, but as we do 2 concourses, rental car facilities, within the 20-year growth of the airport authority, probably about double in staff. So again, these are fairly, I guess, fairly conceptual, but I think, again, based on discussions with the department. So you'll see, again, we've done an area space program for them, about 20,200 square feet. They currently have 5,800. So again, as you see with the staffing, there's not a huge growth, but this is their space program. And I would say you could probably cut out what they have right about here. There's a lot of spaces they don't have, a lot of spaces they need. Can they be combined? Can we find efficiencies? Yes, absolutely. So we're not saying today that we're going to have to build 20,200, but the police department that we're talking about and the police station, if you will, needs to grow. I mean, no doubt about it. Again, in short term, not much. 0 to 5, as we start to look at 5 to 10, we feel as though, and I think this has been vetted out with the staff, there needs to be some changes made. And where we find that space within the airport, because we are talking about them being on property, is something that we're going to have to look at. So potential sites for our admin building, part of the scope was to lean into where this 45,000 square feet might go. We're looking at the Conrack. That's site 1. We're looking at a location on top of the concourse. That's site 2. And then the airport authority owns a site just south of Hyatt Place between terminal and the 395 off-ramp. So those are the 3 sites to be considered. Again, this is a conceptual study. Once we get into, the next phases of this, there may be other sites that are identified. But I think these are the three that seem to have the most merit for us as we worked on the study. So real quick, kind of high-level presentation on each of them. So this is the CONRAC. We are proposing to put it within the CONRAC. I think either on maybe the top floor, probably not realistic to insert it within the storage areas, if you will, but top floor, maybe in a single-story version, or it can be distributed between floors, and there might be some merit to doing that. So, this is 45,000 square feet on top of the CONRAC, so our test fit, it obviously fits great. This is half of it, 22,000 over 2 floors. So I think, again, these are conceptual looks at where it might go. I believe there's already been some discussion with the CONRAC folks about how it might fit within that. The construction completion on this is 2025, and you'll see these are all pretty aggressive schedules, but there's a real need to get on top of this. So that's the CONRAC. Concourse, this is an image from the concourse planning study that's ongoing right now. So we are test fitting within the north concourse that they are proposing. It could also go on the south concourse. It's not really location specific. So you'll see 45,000 square feet would fit on top of the concourse. So you have your ramp level, obviously that's operations. You have your concourse level, passenger circulation, that. So in this scenario, the administration group would go on top of the building, let's say, 3rd floor. And just as a kind of just a quick thing to note, we would have to get out there. So our study doesn't include this, and this is something that we're going to have to talk about in the future. But if you're going to go to the admin, much like you do now by just coming in as a member of the public, you're not going to want to go through the security checkpoint. So there's going to have to be a way to get out there. It could be a small connector. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but you're going to have to get out there, or this finds its way closer. But there is a little bit of work that's going to need to be done with this alternative to get folks actually to the administration area. This is the site number 3. So the parcel, again, here's Hyatt Place, aloft. We're south of that, Terminal Way, 395 off-ramp. So this is I guess more of a traditional build, if you will. This site's vacant right now. We would put up probably a 2-story building, and then surface park, surface development. So again, much like a traditional office building, if you will. It would probably come pretty close to parking at our conceptual level with city requirements, so we don't see parking being a huge issue. This one is mid-2024. I will back up. So the concourse you'll see is late 2028, and that aligns with the development of the first concourse. So workplace strategy report, I talked a little bit about this. This is our trends, what's going on in the industry, how are people working, how does the airport authority see their staff and people working. So there were 5 themes that we went over. Natural daylight's a big one. There's not natural daylight really woven through the whole workplace right now, so that was obviously very important. Privacy and focus, your ability to get into a space, whether it's an office or a different alternative kind of workspace, and focus on your tasks. Meeting rooms for the type of meetings that happen here. Break and relief, we talked about those nice social spaces, nice place where you can eat your lunch. And then this hybrid work model. And again, we didn't take a deep dive into that, but it's out there in terms of the workplace and how people work. Do they work from home? Do they move within their office throughout the day? So those are themes that we want to see carried forward, I think, as we start, continue to discuss how the workplace comes about here at RNO. And then some just involvement opportunities, and these are kind of the big 3. So individual focus, as we talked about, collaboration, and socialization. Those 3 components, at their best are, well-defined, and they support what goes on at the airport every day. Airport comparisons, so talked a little bit about that at the outset. SFO, San Diego International, and Will Rogers. Kind of disparate on the surface, I think. Obviously, SFO is a huge airport. Will Rogers, San Diego, more in line with RNO. But they have different administrative organizations and location that we didn't want to talk about. So we've developed this spreadsheet, and I'm obviously not going to go over every line, but we did want to highlight a couple of things. So in terms of age, Reno, and if we look at the administration, I think with some remodeling, it was basically built in 1980. So we're looking at a space that's 40 years old. You'll see Oklahoma City is 2016. That was in addition to a administration space that was older. San Diego and SFO are in the process of either recently completing, in San Francisco's case, or San Diego, they're actually building a new administration building adjacent to their terminal, pretty similar to what we're talking about. So I think we've got, Reno at the older end, Oklahoma City in the middle, and then SFO and San Diego, I would say very contemporary in terms of the way that they're developing their spaces. And it kind of plays itself out in some of these numbers. So this one is the net square foot per workspace desk. So that's how much space somebody has to do their work. And I think the interesting thing with this is, in terms of workstations, Reno does have some. They're typically admin assistants. But what we don't have are smaller workstations than these bench desks. And a bench desk is basically a high table where somebody can come, do a little bit of work, collaborate, and leave. It's kind of, you see it a lot with the tech companies, the Googles, that kind of thing. San Francisco and San Diego have that. Reno really doesn't. And I think, part of the discussion is going to be, as we go forward, is that something that we want? Also, a lot of, a smaller workstation that doesn't exist in Reno. This group is a seat counts, and it's just very interesting in that Reno has a lot of offices, again, relatively few workstations. You'll see, and just to take San Diego, 30 offices, but 250 workstation benches, almost 300 workstations. So really big, large amount of workstations, varied in their size. I think that is one path that the workspace is taking. Less office, more workstation. Just kind of a menu, and we're evaluating collaboration spaces. Reno is a bit on the shy side. You'll see that between these more contemporary ones, a lot of open office, a lot of open collaboration spaces where you can dive in, have a conversation, go back to your desk or your workstation. And then this last column is a ratio of office to workstation. So Reno's 85-15, heavy on office. You'll see just going to San Diego, 10% office, 90% workstation. So again, we're not advocating for one position or the other. I think you could make a case that certain industries are certainly moving more towards a more dynamic, more open space, but I think this is to be discussed as we go forward. But hopefully the study, it was an important part of the study for us to just kind of, as I said, lean into this and show some other examples of where other airports are going. So future uses of the current administration space, this is the police department piece. So as we've, as we've worked on this and generated these different functional groups, police has been a difficult one because I think they don't want to be out with administration in the CONRAC. They have response times that are, dictated by TSA, and they have operational needs that, I think make a case for them being in the terminal or close to the terminal. So while their location hasn't been finalized by any stretch, we just wanted to do kind of a quick hit on what it would look like to put the police in this area after it's vacated. And just kind of see, it's on the second floor. They have canine dogs. There's certainly issues that we would need to vet out, but I think we're sitting right here in the boardroom, just for frame of reference. You come in here, and this is the atrium. And staff continues down here. So this is just, as I said, a real quick test fit. This orange area is about 20,500 square feet, and the police program for year 20 is about 20,200. So you could make a case it fits, and I think certainly worth discussion, whether that's where the airport authority wants to go with this space. Again, that's to be determined, but I think it does fit. And we're certainly, as we finish up our document, we're certainly willing to look at other places and may need to, but this was just an interesting one where it really aligned pretty well with some space that you're going to have available. Other future uses of the administration space, so just real quick, a lot of these bullet points have actually come from staff. I would say most all of them actually come from staff. So TSA, airlines need space, airline operations need space, maybe second floor retail, training, the tenants, whether it's the airlines out in the concourse or again the airline operations, they need meeting rooms. They really don't have any of that. So it could be a real great mix of uses. We do have access from the lobby up the stairs. There's great access from the ticket counters up a couple of stairways. You can get at it from the top of the departure escalators, and you can't currently, but with a pretty simple addition, you could actually get at it from the concourse. So I think a lot of options for how we use the space. This bottom diagram is a little structural sketch. So it's steel post and beam. That's its structural system. So what that means is a lot of white, a lot of flexibility for tenant improvements, and the colored red are either braces or bearing walls. And there's columns, obviously, that hold up the space. But a ton of flexibility in how we develop it. So I think it's really a kind of unlimited in terms of its potential. So just a little bit, maybe just to summarize where we're at. Our work completed, so we've completed the programming. We have done a draft, and we have, again, looked at every group. We've done test fit plans. We looked at those. So next steps for the airport authority, we do want to look at how the administration space program folds itself into CONRAC. We also want to complete that analysis for a preliminary location for the police department. Both of those, I think, are ongoing to some extent, one extent or another. And then I think it's important to align the 0 to 5 staff growth with what's actually going to happen with that. Again, there's a relatively significant amount of people coming on board as the airport authority grows. Just want to make sure that we've taken that into consideration. As far as our firm, HK, and our partners, we're going to complete the draft document. It's in review. We've gotten some good comments. We're going to continue to get comments. And as Amanda said, we're hoping to finish it end of this month, early April of 2022. So that concludes my presentation. Thanks for sticking with me. I know there was a lot there. There's mountains of information if you want more, but I think hopefully that gives you a good understanding of where we're at. So thanks.
Questions from the trustees? Mr. Griffin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just make a couple comments here first and thank Max and his team. This is some really great work that, first and foremost, we needed a roadmap for our space, for 100% of our space. Every work group deserves to have a great environment to exist in and to grow into. And so across the organization, this provides us that roadmap. And so I'm really excited about that. And I'm hearing brainstorming going on of things that could happen sooner rather than later. And that's great. That's great to be thinking about that. As it relates to our administrative space, Max has mentioned the CONRAC several times. We have been sharing this information with CONRAC Solutions. As you might imagine, they are working at a feverish pace now to pivot to our new location that the board endorsed. And so they will build a customer service building, and that is where the opportunity is for us to consider, do we want to co-locate with them? Could they provide what Max has outlined our need is over that 10 to 20-year period? So we are in a conversation with them because they're going to need to know relatively quickly if this is something we're interested in. They need to be thinking about it, and a negotiation needs to occur. If we're not interested in it, they need to move on and really design their garage structure and their customer service building. For the police station, this is, again, a high priority. You've all been down there. We can't wait years and years. 2027, 2028 feels like a really long time from now. So I think the space that we occupy right now is certainly an area that may be a great fit, or other space we're not thinking of, but we need to continue to work on finding what their plan is. And then even if it means interim moves or temporary relocations, figuring out how do we get that plan for the police moved forward. The space they occupy is valuable to us, our airline partners. It is really airline space, and it's, as we now know, vastly undersized for what a normal police station footprint should look like. And that's, again, a really valuable part of the study. Is we knew it didn't look right, it didn't feel right, didn't feel like it should, and now we know just how bad it really is. So those are important facts to help motivate us to move as quickly as we can. So obviously there will be more to talk about here in the near term. We are in conversations that will ultimately potentially be board decisions. We will be pushing information as fast as we can, and looking for setting our course forward. But this is a really first important step. So I'm happy to answer any questions as well if you have any, but a lot more to come on this. But thank you, Max, for getting us close to the finish line on this.
Questions from trustees? Trustees Ferrazza.
Yeah, Darren, a question for you, because I think the police station is, pretty important, and I do think we should move forward with Conrac, get that going on the administrative offices. In the interim, I guess from your perspective, how many offices have to be located here? Because obviously the board meetings don't need to be in this space, so I don't know how, we have plenty of partners and plenty of public buildings that we could be using for board meetings that we wouldn't have to pay for, I don't think, but the admin office is back here in the interim, so we could start going on the police station. Have you thought of that on the interim?
I have, actually. Thank you for asking. It's a great question. And first, I think we need to set the course. Is there a deal that can be made there with Conrac Solutions? That is something that's happening in a number of airports now, where co-location with rental car facilities helps us all reduce our costs. We picked a great location that is an easy walking distance, and parking is quite readily available. I think once this board has made that final determination based on our recommendation and we have a business deal in place, then I think we immediately pivot to how quickly can we come up with an interim plan for the space we're occupying today, at least that footprint that the police station would occupy, and find other alternatives so that we could accelerate a plan to redevelop this into a police station. Because if we just wait for all these timelines to play out, a Conrac is a 2026 opening. It'd take at least a year after that. We're into 2028, and that is just simply way too far out there to let the police station continue in its current. Not only is it inferior for them, but we are full. We need the space for all kinds of airline support providers. We have a record number of airlines operating here, and it's amazing how little space they're willing to occupy, but we don't have anything else to offer. So I think what would happen next later this year would be working on that interim plan. To your point, we have all options. We just have to go looking for them and try and stay together if we can, try and make it as convenient as we can for all of our employees, but get that plan in place, communicate it, and get moving. So this is the first important building block. It's an important starting point, and I'm excited of where we're going to go from here.
Other comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next items. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Darren. Item 11 is our upcoming RTA meetings. I'm sorry, I missed item 10. It's board member comments, questions, and requests for agenda items. Jessica.
Yeah, just Chair Carey, and I know we had the lively discussion last month on Darren's performance review, and just maybe getting that on the agenda with some parameters, having some time to think it over. Maybe it is best in a subcommittee, but with some overall direction of some parameters for that subcommittee to come back to the whole board might be appropriate for next meeting. Just a thought.
Just to add to that, we have been trying to make some data acquisitions and make some preparations, and it wouldn't be ready for that next meeting. But I do take your comments to mean that we will be looking at this in the near term rather than in the long term. So that's certainly coming. Okay.
Can I say something on that? The idea, I thought with our meeting, our last meeting is we wanted to bring it to the larger board and then go top down. So we didn't want to have a separate, doing a lot of things. So I'd like to get that going on the meeting from the top down and let all the people say, yes, we are interested in this, or we're not interested in going that way. So that's kind of the thing that I wanted to do here, and maybe that didn't get across, or maybe I'm thinking differently than other board people.
Other comments? Thank you for your input on that. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Trustees Frezza, I apologize. You asked about parking. That was on the consent agenda, so I appreciate the board approving that. So on the consent agenda was designed for a new parking lot here, the flag lot as it's been called. You know, our team is working hard on identifying all available parking capacity for this summer, notwithstanding fuel and other geopolitical events that may slow our business down. If it doesn't slow down, we're in for another challenging summer of parking. But I will say they're putting together a great plan. We'll be in design this summer for additional parking capacity. Construction will start this fall. We'll have a new parking product online, hopefully next May, June timeframe. We're looking at rental car space as well, and can we do some trade-offs there? And we keep moving the employees. They're getting frustrated with that. We're trying to find a permanent location for employee parking so they're not kind of subject to the weekly peaks and valleys. So I just wanted the board to know that we are squarely focused on this. We'll be messaging as we need to, but we hope not to have to use off-site parking as much as we did last summer. One, it's further away. It's expensive to transport. We do have in our budget, we will talk about bringing in-house some shuttling capabilities so that we can move customers and employees around. Next month, we'll be talking about that. So it's a huge area of focus, and I just wanted the board to know, since it was on the consent agenda item, that we're working on it. It's going to be better than it was last summer, I hope, and honestly, I hope we have the business that pushes us. That's probably my biggest concern right now, is that headwinds coming, so we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to follow up with you on that.
Other comments? Jessica?
Just a question on that, Darren, on the parking, and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but I will. Have we looked at increasing the fee? I don't know when we did that last, but in speaking to you, people are parking here for long periods of time, which is shocking to me, just because of the rates. But I don't know when we last looked at that, of increasing the parking fee, and especially with these peak periods coming up, just a thought.
Thank you for asking that. As part of the budgeting process, the board approves a master fee resolution, and you will see rate adjustment recommendations, honestly, in a number of different areas. And as the board knows, we are not a for-profit company. We don't generate profit sharing or anything like that for shareholders. We collect revenues and then we invest them back into the infrastructure and our employees. And with a landside plan, we have a lot of infrastructure need. And so everything we generate in parking is going back into the system, and we have a tremendous amount of infrastructure need coming. So there will be rate adjustments. It also reflects the basics of supply and demand and economic balance, although I will tell you in my past experience, a $2 rate increase on a parking product doesn't really change anybody's mind, so the team knows they still have to keep working very hard on this. But we will collect additional revenue that we will spend on the parking system, on the shuttle system, on all the things that we're working on together. So thank you for asking about that.
Any other comments?
Just piggybacking on that, I just know that from a basin-wide, Tahoe basin-wide conversation that's going on about tourism and
Brought that up. Andy brought that up at our CBA.
I mean, there's all kinds of conversations about yield management or surge pricing. So I think in the budget process, that might be something that you might want to look at. Is that, you know, during the holiday, you know, December, you know, it might be not $16 a day. It might be 22 or 24. I don't know. Right. I'm just making that up. But there's a lot of conversation about managing use of facilities now with what hotels have been doing for years, basically saying if you want to be here, you're going to enjoy, you know, pulling more money out of your wallet, and that might be a parking incentive or de-incentive, I guess.
Airlines in their seat pricing as well.
Oh yes,
They're
I
very
forgot
good at
about
it.
that.
Yes, we're familiar with that model. And what you just described is very commonplace in Europe, where they have all the IT in place, that last parking space is quite a bit more expensive than the first. So we are thinking about all of that. It's a delicate balance of
It
being
is.
open and available
Really is.
for our
I-
customers
I wouldn't
while
wanna make
also
it up myself.
pricing the product where it needs to be priced. So a delicate
I
balancing
don't
act.
want you to do it for us either, so. yeah.
Okay, duly noted.
Further comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 11, which is our upcoming RTAA meetings. Any comments on those? Hearing none, we'll move to public comment. Is there any public comment today?
No public comment.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.